Hello, happy 3-day weekend. It's Miss Eberly. Sorry it took me forever to get this video up. But it is now Saturday and I don't know, like 6 o'clock, 6:30. And I am coming to you with some algebraic with a weird line. Algebraic expressions, and we're going to evaluate them. So we've been simplifying them. And I was going to do an equation video, but I've decided against it. I think we need more practice with working with algebraic expressions. So we're going to go ahead and evaluate some. So we're going to start with 1 here. So let's see. What's my first one I have for you? That's the end. So this is my first one for you. So let's say to evaluate this, we cannot evaluate it until I give you some values for A and B. So let's say A is -3 and B is -5. How about that? All right, so we need to plug in the value of -3 for A. So I'm taking out A and I'm subbing in -3. And that is being squared. And then I have the variable B next to it of a -5. But what operation is happening between A to the second power and B? If there's nothing there, we assume it's multiplication. So I'm going to put a multiplication sign with the -5. And you could put that in parentheses. Now the way I wrote this is technically wrong because I need parentheses around that -3 because my A value, the whole A value, is being taken to the second power. So I need to make sure and show that -3, not just 3, needs to be taken to the second power. Alright, so then from there we start with order of ops. So order of operations. I would start with inside the parentheses, but you guys, there's nothing to do inside the parentheses. The only reason they're there is to keep those negatives in there. So then you go to exponents. So I have an exponent here. And that means that I have a base of 3 being multiplied by itself 2 times. So I'm taking -3 times -3. So -3 squared would be, and maybe you're saying it right now, it is not -9, it is not 6, it is +9. And that's not our final answer because we still need to multiply it by -5. And when we do that, we get our final answer of -45. Negative because the signs are different. So it's going to end up being negative. Alright, second problem. Alright, in order to evaluate it, you'd have to be like, Miss Eberly, we need to know what A is. Okay, so let's say A is -8. And then you're like, well, we need to know what C is. Okay, let me just think of something. -2. You're like, man, Miss Eberly, you like negatives. I do like negative numbers. I'm just not a negative person. And then D is, let's go with something like 12. There's a positive number for you. Super positive. And it's composite. Anyway. Alright, so now we start and evaluate. So I'm plugging in the values. I'm subbing out. I'm taking out the variables and I'm subbing in the numbers. So instead of A, I'm going to write -8. I have a subtraction sign with C, which is -2. So since I have a subtraction and negative, I'm just going to put a parentheses there to show they're different from each other. And then I have that with the D variable next to it. And if they're just sitting there next to each other, it doesn't mean it becomes -212, -212. It's multiplication between those two. So I'm going to multiply that with D value of 12. Alright, so you start in and you get super excited because you're like, alright, from left to right, like reading a book, I'm going to start here, I'm going to subtract, and then I'm going to multiply. But that would be wrong. By order of ops, we have to do the multiplication first. That comes before subtraction. So first I need to figure out -2 times 12. So if you know it, say it, because I'm going to put it down. It is 24, but it's negative because the signs are different. Now I bring down the rest of the problem, -8 minus that quantity. So now if you think about this on the number line, I am going -8 on myself. -8. Subtract means I go left, but there's another negative to say no, turn around. 24 this way. So really I need to take 24 minus 8, which is 16. And I can see that my answer is going to be in the positive realm. So my final answer here is positive 16. You're like, are we done yet? No, I have another one. So let's say B here is 7. And D is -4. So I'm going to evaluate this thing. So I take out the B, put in the 7. Take out the D, put in the -4. Put in my parentheses with a square. And now I proceed. Order of ops, I start inside the parentheses. I start in here. Again, if you think you know how to do this, you can pause the video and try it out yourself. But 7 plus -4. So number lining it, I'm going right. And then I think I'm going right again, but there's a negative to turn me around and go left 4 spots, which means I'm subtracting them. So it is actually 3 inside these lovely parentheses that's being taken to the second power. So now I apply the power, and 3 times 2 would be the wrong thing to do. And we get our final answer of 9. And what I want to show you in the next one, let's keep our B value the same of 7 and our D value the same of, and I already forgot what I chose, -4. I want to show you how this one, B squared plus D squared, is different from the one we just did with the quantity of B plus D being squared. You might think they're the same. But let's apply the order of ops with this. So we take out the B value, we put in the 7. I did not apply parentheses because I don't have a negative. Plus my D value of -4. Now I do have a negative, so I'm going to apply parentheses to the second power. So now by order of ops, I'm not starting with addition. I am going to start with the exponents. So I have 7 squared, which is 49, plus -4 squared, which means -4 times -4, which would be a positive, since the signs agree, 16. So now you can see that the answer is not going to be even close to 9. If I add 16 to 49, 49 plus that 16, I'm at 65. Whew. So just making note that those are way different problems. And then let's try one more here. So let's say, and again, pause the video if you're like, I am pro at this, Miss Everly. I don't even need you. Get off this video and let me do it myself. Okay, then you can just pause it. So B is -3. C is -1. A is 5. And D is, pick a number. Let's see if you pick the same one I do. -9. That'd be weird if you did. Okay. Take a deep breath, starting it. Okay, I'm going to sub in -3 for B. Boom. It's negative. I'm going to put in parentheses. Being multiplied with the C value of -1. Putting it in parentheses. It's negative. To the third power. Minus A, which is 5, leaving it out of parentheses because it's just a positive number. But if you really feel like strongly about parentheses, you can put in parentheses if you want. Times the D value of -9. Okay, order of opping this thing. Inside parentheses, can't do anything. Those are just for the negatives to stay in there. So I'm going to start with the exponent right there. Alright, so what does -1 to the third power mean? Well, I have to write the base number 3 times and multiply it. As you can see, I have 2 negatives that match up, so that's going to be positive, with 1 negative left over. So I know it's going to be negative. An odd power with a negative is going to be negative. And then what is 1 times 1 times 1? It's just 1. So -1 to the third power is -1. Alright, and the problem is not done. So I bring down the rest of the problem. So this was -1 times -3 minus 5 times -9. Okay, order of opping. I'm not going to deal with this subtraction. I'm going to deal with the multiplication from left to right. So -3 times -1 is 3. I'll bring down the rest of the problem. Some of you might actually do both multiplications at the same time, which is fine. And now 5 times -9. I'm going to proceed with that before I subtract, because multiplication again comes before subtraction. So 5 times -9, I'm going to erase and write it in because I'm running out of room. And that is, so this multiplied together is a negative because they don't agree, 45. Ho, ho, ho. So think about this on the number line. We're going 3 to the right. We think we're turning around and going left. But because there's a negative, we keep going 45, meaning we're really just adding it together. And you end up at 48 in the positive realm. Whew. Thank you for working with me on this 3-day weekend. And I will see you in class for some practice. Adios, peoples.